Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Zip's back with you. What a fantastic week it is turning out to be. I hope first, everyone out there that is veterans, I wish you a happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all you've done for the country of the United States. And for everyone else out there, I hope you are doing fantastic as well and your mindset's on positive lock as we have a lot going on with regards to XRP, ETFs, and we're going to talk about all that tonight. Stick with me until the end because we're going to talk about an incident that's happened to a longtime OG in the XRP community who has lost a lot of his crypto. And again, we talk about this all the time about being safe and keeping those defenses up at all times. But we're going to talk about that in the end. But we're going to get into all this other news as far as XRP ETFs, and the Clarity Act. The government is coming back to work. Hopefully by tomorrow night, the government will be back in force. And this is when things are going to start to move. And the momentum is absolutely going to start to pick up. So with that, we will start to get into this news tonight. And first up, again, I'm all about mindset. I'm about positivity. I am about keeping my mindset locked on the positive, regardless of what is going on. Staying away from the negative naysayers, staying away from the doomsdayers, and the world's coming to an end. Yeah, are there problems out there? 100%. Do bad things happen to good people sometimes? Absolutely. But we keep marching ahead and we try to keep this mindset as positive as possible, because staying positive doesn't mean you have to be happy all the time. Exactly what it says. And it means that even on hard days, you know that there are better days coming. And in this community and with what's going on, those of us that are invested in this environment, absolutely better things are coming. And we're going to talk about that now as we get into it. And again, nothing I say is financial advice, but if you don't see what is going on in these markets now, regardless of what you hold, I like to talk to XRP because I see the bigger picture and where things are going, in my opinion, and it's all the way up. We've talked about what Ripple is doing in the environment, how they are propelling themselves and changing the financial infrastructure as we know it. Now, are they alone? Absolutely not. And it's going to be an interoperable world. And that's why I am diversified. I am not a maxi in one coin. I am a utility maxi. And I invest in projects that are changing the face of this planet. That's me. But let's take a listen to what Brad Garlinghouse just recently said again, so you have that bigger mindset of where things are going. We are so early still in this environment, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot express that enough. If you are brand new to crypto and you're trying to figure out all the jargon and all the adjectives and this coin and this group that fights that group, dig in and do an actual evaluation and think about where the United States is going. As Brad's going to talk about here, they are propelling crypto. Okay. I don't care what you own. Yes, I believe it should be utility, and XRP is one of those that I believe is going to pay off tremendously well in the future. And I believe we're going to start to see some price action here, leaving Q4, definitely going in to 2026 without a doubt. But listen to what Brad says here, and let's capture the bigger picture. Listen to his words and what he is saying.
Largest economy in the world goes from headwinds to tailwinds. I think we are underpriced that shift. I think that'll play out over the 6, 12, 18 months. I think the inevitable march of pursuit of these technologies can't be stopped. Largest economy.
They cannot be stopped. It's not going to be stopped. There is going to be a swell, a tsunami, if you would, of liquidity coming into these markets. And one of the pivotal reasons why is because of the XRP ETFs. Just reported on it the other day. We had a couple out on the DTCC. Now we have 11 out on the DTCC that are being prepared to launch. And we know that Canary Capital could launch tomorrow or Thursday, along with many others. And we've been talking about this for quite a long period. We have been waiting. We thought we'd get this in early October, but the government shutdown and other things going on, again, delayed some of this. But now things are really kicking up, and we're going to see all of these ETFs coming out. And remember, many of these are spot ETFs, which means they have to hold the asset. Now, does that mean we're going to $1,000 tomorrow? No, not in my opinion, but we're going to start to see prices tick up again in Q4, along with everything else we have been talking about, along with the government coming back into office, these ETFs launching, and a whole tsunami of the Clarity Act, and which we're going to talk about in a little bit here, because remember, foundationally, the laws has really been holding us back, and Brad has spoken to that many times as well. But look at these beautiful XRP ETFs get ready to launch, 11 of them, and we think about the inflows and what is going on. Let's listen to Canary Capital's advisor here and listen to what he says about what his perception is as far as the inflow for Canary Capital alone, and what they could see as compared to Solana, when the Solana Solana would launch, or as they launched HBAR. Listen to the excitement and listen to the number that he's talking about here.
When you look at the flow that we've seen with Solana, the BSOL, Bitwise did a great job getting that one out on the ground, and absolutely crazy numbers. One of the best performing ETFs that we've seen so far, especially in digital assets. How do you think these XRP ETFs will perform against that?
Yeah, I actually think that XRP will probably double what Solana did in its first week and even today, as far as volume and as far as total AUM. If you just even look at the market caps of the two tokens, XRP is about 50% higher than Solana. Yeah. But the difference is, and we experienced this with HBAR last week or 2 weeks ago now, the HBAR ETF experienced $70 million in inflows just in the first 3 days. And it's because it's really well known among institutional circles and enterprise investors. Yeah. So even though it's not a big retail product, it doesn't have a ton of volume, it's got the right kind of interest. And that's how XRP is. Solana is probably a little bit more of a retail token. XRP is much more of a financial services.
Double $70 million is what he's saying. 100 to 200%. That's $140 million of possible inflows. And he's just talking about Canary Capital. So when we look out over this landscape and what is possible, the amount of liquidity that could be created and the supply crunch that could be created, it's not crazy to think that we're going to reach $10, possibly $15 still by the end of the year. Now, there are some influencers out there and other analysts that are telling us 3 digits plus. They're still preaching that this year. I don't know. I don't really care. I know long-term holding XRP is going to be profitable. So if it's $10, $100, or $1,000 in the next couple months, obviously we're all going to be very ecstatic, with the higher numbers, even more so. But these are professionals, and what he states there, this is institutional grade crypto, and the range, and that's what we're waiting for, these institutions to come in and bring in all of the capital, bring in all of their clientele, as XRP's been pressed down and just been held back for years and years and years. And that coiled spring is absolutely getting ready to explode. Very exciting. Cannot wait to see what happens in the course of the next 2 weeks. Just got to hold on and be safe out there. Now, other big news here, the Clarity Act. It looks like we may still get this bad boy before the end of the year. They are pushing through in a bipartisan way this Clarity Act, which the Clarity Act, they have released the draft bill as well. So you can go out there and read and see what it's all about. One of the biggest things that's out there is the ability to still self-custody, which is enormous for those of us that have been holding this long. All that legislature, all that is inside of there. You can go out here and read the whole draft version. But this, remember, ladies and gentlemen, we've been waiting for this because this is the framework. This is the highway that the institutions are going to use to keep them on the guardrails of how they can utilize crypto, DeFi, what commodity is, and who and how ownership can happen out there. This is what we've been needing. And if this gets passed along with all these ETFs and we can get this by the end of the year, whew, you better hold on, because everybody's going to be jumping on board at that point. Very exciting. And again, this has been bipartisan. As you can see here, the bipartisan support is split and equalized to the most, for the most part, in the House and Congress. That's a good thing. We want a bipartisan bill. But if this legislature gets out here this year, that is one more huge cherry on top to actually propel XRP and crypto in general into 2026. Can you already believe it? We're almost at the end of 2025. Time is absolutely moving fast, and I hope you're having a good time on this journey, because I know I am. Now, we're going to switch a little bit here. We have to be safe in this environment. So my heart goes out to Darren Moore, crypto Darren out there. He's one of the OGs in this community. I can remember listening to him 7, 8 years ago and listening to all of his insight. Well, unfortunately, he was hacked and he lost a preponderance of his crypto that he was holding. Now, the details on this is, and you can go out and you can listen to this video, but the bottom line is, it sounds like he got a Trojan, he got a virus on his computer. And when he got that virus, it started to infect the computer. He went to use his Ledger device, and the Ledger device asked him and prompted him as he was re-uploading and reinstalling it. He goes through the story, but as he was going through a new installation of the Ledger software, live software, it basically came up and asked him for his keys. Now, any of you that own Ledgers, this is no fault to Ledger itself, but if you've installed and you've used these devices previously, it doesn't ask you to input the keys ever, unless you're doing a completely brand new reload and there's other parameters and variables there. The point being is, ladies and gentlemen, you have to be very, very safe. And this is why, and he is a very technical individual. I mean, I've listened to him for years, but having a defense, antivirus, malware protection, and really, if you are self-custodying, which I recommend, I use Ledger and I use Decent and I use other wallets, but I spread my risk across the board and I don't keep everything on one wallet. But if you do, the best thing to do is really, if you have a standalone machine, is use that machine to connect to the device and only use that machine to connect to the device. But absolutely, my heart goes out to Darren, and he's actually, getting a lot of support out there. There's a lot of folks going out there to donate to him. So if you feel it in your heart and Darren and you want to donate to the cause to help him try to build up some of what he had lost, obviously the crypto community and the XRP army stick together. But go ahead and do that. I just wanted to mention that tonight. But again, just please, please, please be safe out there. Be smart. Be cautious. We're coming to the end of a marathon that we've been running, and many of us that have been holding for a very long time. I believe it's going to get extremely exciting here going out of 2025 into 2026. It's going to be absolutely mind-blowing. Remember, everything's been delayed, but the government is getting back in tomorrow. We've got the Clarity Act that is coming, and we got XRP ETFs, which are going to bring a tsunami of liquidity and excitement to the community. So just be prepared mentally. Make sure you have your exit strategies. If you choose to exit, have everything written down and your plan and your actions well developed. And we've gone over that numerous times and we'll continue to hammer on that. But with that, until next time, Zip is out.